It has been 7 years since the release of Code Vein, which was a nice niche in the developing Souls-like subgenre of video games. Replacing the familiar Western medieval-inspired dark fantasy with a gothic modern-day setting with anime aesthetics and vampires, Code Vein established a nice foothold with its dedicated fanbase, which crossed over with its sibling series God Eater. Fans have been begging for a sequel, and after a very long wait, it finally arrived in the form of Code Vein 2. Despite being a numbered sequel, Code Vein 2 can be enjoyed independently of the first game, as it takes place in a separate universe where revenants are now naturally born into the world rather than being artificially created like in the first game. Also, unlike in the first game, they inhabit this world along with humans, where there's also a bureau established to help maintain the peace and stability between the two species. Things are thrown into disarray when an event called the Resurgence appears and ravages the world, corrupting everything from living to dead and transforming them into monsters called horrors. This phenomena was sealed away once by progenitor eaters to seal, but it did not last, and the Resurgence returned once more. It will seal once more after revenants, hailed as heroes, sacrifice themselves for the cause, who now slumber in their cocoons. You play as a human revenant hunter who lost half their heart during a rescue operation and was rescued by the Magmill House. You were brought back to life by them and were given half of the heart of Lou, a revenant with the capability of time travel through the use of her specialized forma. Eventually, you are tasked by Lavina Voda to save the world from annihilation as the aforementioned cocoons are deteriorating. The life force of the heroes dormant within them are being drained away, and once fully drained, they cause a resurgence event and explode. To prevent this from happening, you must travel back in time to a period where each of the heroes are around before they're sealed away, locate the key to unlocking their cocoon, return to the present, unlock the cocoon, and slay the hero resting inside. Of course, with time travel, you will end up in periods where you did not exist, where you have the power to change the course of history for the heroes. But what other effects may occur from these changes? Code Vein 2 continues borrowing from the Souls-like formula, but has now adopted the fully open world style seen in FromSoft's recent hit Elden Ring. Unlike in that game, where you're exploring medieval areas, in Code Vein 2, you will traverse various modern post-apocalyptic settings consisting of cities, train stations, factories, and other modern architecture. Many of the mechanics and systems from the first game return with some new additions to accommodate the open world style. With the change in gameplay style and anime aesthetics, can Code Vein 2 return the series to relevance after a long hiatus, or is it too little, too late? For transparency, a review code for the PC version of this game was provided courtesy of the publisher. Now let's find out what works in Code Vein 2 in the good. As with the first game, the customization options are vast with the tools at your disposal. This time, however, there are more outfits to work with, unlike in the first game, so you can really add some unique touches to your original The Revenant Hunter, Do Not Steal. This customization doesn't just end at the character creator, as it also extends to your character build and how you wish to customize your weapons. Returning from the first game are the various blood codes you can equip. Each come with their own preset stats, and you can freely switch between each one. Not feeling your current fighting style or need something different for the fight ahead? Well, it's never been more simple to change up your playstyle by swapping blood codes and equipping weapons to take advantage of it. You can also equip up to 4 boosters to help with your stat adjustments or add more power adjustments to your weapons. Your weapons also come with different customization options as well, since you can add forma abilities to them. Unlike in the first game, these abilities can be both purchased from the item shops and found exploring the various dungeons and areas around the game. Along with all this, you can also equip the Bequeath Forma, which is a strong attack that can do heavy damage when properly utilized. Also returning from the first game are the Blood Veils, which have been renamed to Jails in Code Vein 2. These jails serve as a way to replenish your Ichor, as it is vital to using your various abilities. When the enemy is staggered, you can use an execution attack with your jail, which sometimes plays a cool cinematic for the attack, which I like. I also like how this time around you have a dedicated slot for equipping a shield, where in the first game you had to block with the weapon you were using, which felt counterproductive. Now you have access to light shields, heavy shields, shields that can do damage upon impact, and even dedicated dodge options that use Incursion over stamina. With so much new terminology this game uses, it's nice that it has a database where you can access new information you recently acquired, along with old info that's archived in case you need a refresher. You can also go to loot in an area called the Confluence to re-watch cutscenes in case you forgot what you were doing in the story. The plot of the game has you going to different time periods to meet with the heroes of the upheaval to find the key to unlocking their cocoon. During this time with the heroes, you get to learn more about them from their backstories, motivations, and how others interact with them in the world. They make for good self-contained stories away from the main plot, and the characters are all pretty likable, especially one that I'll bring up later. One last thing I want to bring up is the motorcycle. Where in Elden Ring you traverse using your trusty steed, in this game you use a motorcycle, which is always a joy to break out. You can even do some short gliding with it. However, the allusions to Elden Ring really pile on high to a point where you start to wonder where the influences of that game start and end, and where the essence of Code Vein is. With that in mind, we'll be experiencing an incursion in the bad. The game does come with more customization options, but not that many. Sure, there's more outfits to work with and different parts of them to swap around, but it still feels lacking where there could have been far more outfit options available. Not to mention, some body adjustment options feel very lacking compared to some of the NPCs you come across. It was the same in the first game, but come on! In the sequel, things like this should have been a no-brainer to include. Speaking of lacking, the visuals of this game are also lacking compared to the first game. The first game utilized Unreal Engine 4 to power its visuals with a diverse color palette for each of the environments. Code Vein 2, however, uses Unreal Engine 5, and it really shows the developers have not had enough experience with utilizing this engine properly, as colors are washed out and the visuals overall look very dull. Some parts of the game do look really nice, but they feel like an exception instead of the rule. Also doesn't help that this game also has a day and night cycle. Why? I can only assume because that's what Elden Ring had, except in Elden Ring's case it had drastic effects on the gameplay with the enemies you encounter during nightfall. It just feels tacked on for aesthetic purposes if you want to see the game during the day or night, but I found exploration during night to be generally tedious. Exploration itself also feels tedious, where to reach certain areas, it felt like you had to finesse the geometry until you got to where you needed to get to. I do have a gripe when it comes to the icons on your map, as it does not account for areas that are underground. The icons are displayed no matter what elevation it's actually located at, so you could be trying to find a location on your map only to learn much later the destination is directly below you and you needed to traverse a separate area to reach it. The setting of Code Vein 2 itself also adds to the TDM, as it's a post-apocalyptic setting full of ruined buildings, dilapidated roads, and various encampments. There's nothing that really catches your eye or any areas that deliver a wow factor, as the areas all bleed into each other. Some areas have various puddles and pools of water, one area has poisonous areas, and another has more luscious plantation and snow. Along with this, the setting also creates a lot of clutter with junk polluting the roads and colliding geometry. This may also be the culprit of the performance issues this game has trying to load different areas in the open world with both the visuals and the clutter. The game was just unplayable on my laptop, and currently it's not verified for Steam Deck either. Overall, this open world doesn't serve any gameplay purpose other than to pad out the runtime of this game with the various fetch quests you come across. I would have preferred it if they just stuck with the open linearity of the first game. The story feels very disjointed, with the time travel aspect being a crucial part of it. Sure, the self-contained stories of the heroes are fine in themselves, but they're also supposed to serve the greater plot, and it never seems to feel like they do outside of one hero and a character related to one. These heroes only interact with you during the time period you find them in, and in one area called the free exploration era where you can take on their requests. Those quests give you additional info about them and the world you're in, though this is also dependent on you being invested in the game's world since the developers did some heavy world building for the sequel. I would say they probably went overboard with it all as they really try to make it feel like a grand serious epic. Like Elden Ring. But this is where this game really feels like it's experiencing an identity crisis. During the latter half of the story, the game starts to wear its anime influences more and more, and at one point towards the latter half of the game just goes absolutely insane with a whole musical voiced by the voice actor of Dio Brando, Takehito Koyasu. Provided you have your language set to Japanese, that is. This crisis also extends to the elements that Code Vein 2 borrows from Elden Ring. In my review of the first game, I described Code Vein as what happens when you mix Dark Souls, anime, vampires, and a whole lot of blood into a pot. Code Vein 2 has the anime and vampires. The Dark Souls element was slightly discarded for Elden Ring, and while the blood and res were traded for gold. Even though this game takes place in a different universe from the first game, there are many times where this game is just wearing Code Vein's skin while being an Elden Ring clone. This game doesn't feel like it's made with fans of the original in mind, especially when you take into account many of the terminology from the first game got changed to something else, which adds more confusion to the game's plot and world building. The game will info dump all this on you early on, which will lead to confusion for most players as they try to wrap their heads around what is being explained and shown to them. I mentioned that combat has improved from the first game, however it's not perfect and flaws that were present in the first game still rear their ugly head here. Locking on still feels janky and also doesn't help when the camera doesn't show what you need to look at during enemy encounters. Enemies also feel inconsistently spongy at times, whereas you're prone to stagger a lot getting hit even when you have your barrier up. I mentioned the various options you have available to you for combat, but it can all feel like a bit much. From the forma abilities, to the jails, to the boosters, and even the bequeath weapons, it feels like information overload where the devs should have scaled back on some options to refine existing ones. One system they scaled back on, which I hate, is how parries work. In the first game, they were dependent on which blood veil you had equipped. Now they are exclusive to specific shield items that are parry type, which are really disappointing since I like timing my blood veil to an enemy attack to parry them. Even worse is that the parry doesn't guarantee you can riposte them. It's only if the enemy is staggered enough, which is really frustrating. It just feels so hollow not being able to consistently riposte from parrying and really brings down the combat in my eyes. It also feels like the combat relies too much on your forma abilities in Incursion to get through enemy encounters than just being additional options at your disposal. Also, if you're hoping to bring 2 weapons with you, you're locked out of that feature until you've upgraded a jail to level 11. I don't recall having such a restriction in the first game, and other Souls-like games don't have that kind of restriction. Most they'll do is make you encumbered with the extra weight, but at least you have the option from the get-go. I mentioned this in my review of the first game, how I wish that you could make loadouts for each blood code to make switching between them more seamless. Well, that's still not an option, and with everything going on for combat, it really exacerbates that issue now. One last complaint I have for Code Vein 2 is the lack of online features. This means no online co-op, which was present in the first game, so you won't be able to play with your friends together with your anime OCs to get through the game. You still have access to a partner NPC to bring with you, but that's it. Also, since there's no online features, there's no reason for this game to not allow you to pause during it. But because Dark Souls and Elden Ring don't allow for pausing, neither does this game. The aforementioned titles have online features though. Now with all that out of the way, let's rest into hot spring with the opinion. Code Vein 2, in a vacuum, is a good game. The self-contained stories are nice to play through, and the customization for your character and combat options are very diverse and flexible. However, we're talking about a sequel to a Souls-like game with a niche following due to the influences it wore on its sleeves at the time. Code Vein 2 doesn't know what it wants to be and holds itself back a lot by chasing after Elden Ring. In the time period between Code Vein 1 and 2's release, the competition in the Souls-like space has vastly grown. We have the aforementioned Elden Ring, but From Software also released a standalone game in Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, which carries elements from the Souls series in its DNA. Team Ninja continued to develop other Souls-likes with their Neo series, having a sequel that was well received, and had its third game released shortly after Code Vein 2. We have other games like Strangers of Paradise, Liza P, and Lords of the Fallen, each taking the formula and adding their own spin on things. Then of course, the breakout hits of Black Myth Wukong, which took the formula and mixed it with Journey to the West, and Stellar Blade, which takes influences from the genre on the Sekiro side and adds stylish action to it. Then of course, we have indie hits like Blasphemous 2, Little Witch No Beta, and the sleeper hit, Nine Souls. Other companies have tried to evolve the formula with their own influences on the genre, whereas Code Vein 2 seems to be playing catch-up instead of refining their craft and adding their own unique takes on the formula. As it stands, I cannot recommend Code Vein 2 at full price with its gameplay and performance issues and general lack of identity. There is room for an anime Souls-like, but they have to really embrace what made people fall in love with the first game. Otherwise, the series will be nothing more than a fleeting memory. There's still enjoyment to be had with the game, especially since it has an upcoming DLC in the works, but if you want an anime Souls-like, you're better off with the first game, which is slightly cheaper. Code Vein 2 isn't doing anything that can't be found and done better elsewhere. And now it's time for my rating. I would give Code Vein 2 this hit and run out of 10. Thanks for watching, and tune in for the next Infinite Backlog review. If you enjoyed today's review, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more. You can check out our other videos or follow us on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Once again, thank you for watching.